So now, yeah. So now we'll go to the second part of our Pgbp. So here in this part we'll be studying about depreciation rates. Okay. So coming on to our depreciation rates. So what are the depreciation rates that we will be having for different assets? We'll be just seeing that over here. So coming on to our depreciation rates, in this first we'll see the block of assets. Block of assets. First part of Pgbp was depreciation. No, sir, we have completed a lot of parts in Pgbp. I think this is our second video that I'm making it for you. So first one will be uploaded. You can just go to that. So coming on to a block of assets. So blocking of assets is nothing but whatever the same rate of depreciation is that we will be blocking those assets. That is what we call it as block of the assets. So block of assets, and we have the rate of depreciation. So percentage of depreciation. So for what block of assets, what kind of depreciation will be allowable here? That we will be seeing. On this, the very first one we have tangible assets. Tangible assets are those assets which you can touch, you can feel, those kinds of assets is what we call it as a tangible assets. In tangible assets, the very first thing I have is building. So in building, I get buildings used for residential purpose. Buildings, this is a very important part again. Buildings used for residential purpose. So if you are using a building for a residential purpose, if you are staying in the same building, then the rate of depreciation is 5%. Okay. So then buildings other than the above. Buildings other than above. That means other than the residential purpose, you will be using the building for the other purposes and all. So then the rate of depreciation is 10%. On that building, you give 10% as a depreciation. And next you have furniture and fittings. Furniture and fittings. Coming on to our furniture and fittings. Furniture and fittings here, it will be including electrical fittings. Anything related to an electrical fittings, that is especially comes with the furniture. Then again, the allowable depreciation rate over here is a 10%. So 10% here we are going to allow as a depreciation. So along with that, the next thing that we have here is plant and machinery. So coming on to a plant and machinery. In plant and machinery also we have a separate parts. So in plant and machinery, the first thing under that, the first one we have is motor car, motor buses, and then motor lorries, motor taxis used in business for running them. Used in business for running them on hire. That means you will be using motor car, you will be using motor bus, you will be using motor lorry. Anything related to motor, you will use it in your business for the running purpose of your business. Either you may buy and you may use, or either you may hire it. You may take it on rent and you may use it here. For this, the allowable depreciation is 30%. Okay. And in this, again, you have in first one only, that is motor cars other than used in the business. Motor car other than used in business of hire. Business of hire. That means motor car you will be using other than the business. Okay. That is for some personal use. You may hire the car and you may use it for your personal purpose. On this time, the rate of depreciation is 15%. And apart from this, we in the businesses. And for your books, 40% is the rate of depreciation. And the third one, you have the computers. So here your computer should be including some computer software. So if it is including of computer software, then the allowable depreciation is 40% here. The last but not the least, that is plant and machinery, other than those covered above. That is, other than all these things, if it is than those covered above, other than all these things, for any other plant and machinery, the general rate, GR is nothing but the general rate is 15%. Okay. And then for all the intangible assets, it is 25% is your depreciation rate. Okay, these are the things you have to know, the depreciation rates that is usually related to your depreciation. Okay, is there any doubts in this? The general rates, all these things are. So now I'll go with the next part, the continuation part of this. So suppose if you are having some expenditure on scientific research, even this they have asked in your MCQs a lot of times. So we'll see that expenditure on scientific research. Expenditure on scientific research. So this comes under your section 35. So under section 35, we study the expenditure on the scientific research. So on this, we'll just see the next points here. So here, the very first thing, make a 2 columns. The one column is your 3 columns. The first column is your section. Second column is expenditure incurred or payment made and the third one is deduction. Okay, so here we'll go with one by one. So here the very first one, section 35, subsection 1 and the 1. Okay, under this the expenses, and related to that what is the deduction amount, we'll see here. The very first one, revenue expenditure incurred on scientific research related to assessee business, So assessee is doing some business, and for that business, assessee is incurring some revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure are those expenditure which are recurring in nature. On that expenditure, he is spending that expenditure on some scientific research. On that time, the allowable deduction is 100%. Okay, and then we have a next section here. So the next section tells is section 35, subsection 1 and the 2. So what does this thing will tell you is contribution to research association, for scientific research, So you're doing some contribution for some of the research association, that is just for your scientific research purpose again. And here also the allowable deduction is 100% in this situation. The next thing that we have here, section 35, subsection 1 and 3. So this will be telling us about, 2A we have, and then we'll go with 3. So first we'll go with 2A. So the 2A will tell us about contribution to company for scientific research. So you are doing some contribution to your company just because you are doing some scientific research here. Again, in this situation, 100% is your deduction. And the next thing that we have over here is 35(1)(3). So that tells about contribution to research association, for social science or statistical research. Again, for this 100% deduction. Statistical research is nothing but you wanted to know how many people are leaving, you'll go with data analysis and all. So that comes under your statistical analysis or statistical research, or you're doing some research for the social science purpose. If you're doing some research for that, again your 100% deduction will be allowed. And then we have 35(1)(4). Sometimes if it is a public government one, private, a certain portion will be from the government. Okay.
Even if it is a private one, it will be 100%.
Yes, 100% deduction will not be taxable under this. Yes. For personal use also deductions will be there. For everything here, the deductions will be there. Okay, whether it's for the personal use, for the office purpose, deduction is compulsory. And then we have 35(1)(4), which tells about capital expenditure. So capital expenditure here, if it is again on scientific research, it is 100% deduction. And then we have a last but not the least, that is 35(2), subsection 2(a)(b). So that tells you regarding the expenditure incurred by a company engaged in biotechnology. If a company is engaged in any kind of biotechnology, so here is the only one the rate will be changing, that is 150%. Apart from this, the rest and all, it is same. There is no change in this. Okay. Is there any doubts in this? Understood all of you? Okay. So, they'll give you more money. So then we'll go with the next part. So the next thing that we have over here, 50. Sorry, 25. 11 and now. So this is your second part. So I'll just stop in your second part.